Morning. My name is John Jones. I'm chairman of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to the notice provisions of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, with all participating authority members attending in person. While this meeting is open and public, there will be no public comments, as is OTA's longstanding historical practice. In addition to being open to the public for in-person observation, the meeting is being live streamed and recorded for remote viewing. The time is 10 a.m. and I'm calling the November 4th, 2025 regular meeting of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to order. Charity, please call the roll.
Mr. Will Berry.
Here.
Mr. Todd Cohn.
Here.
Mr. David Madigan.
Here.
Mr. John Titsworth.
Here.
Ms. Dana Weber.
Here.
Mr. John Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize some guests that we have with us this morning. We have AOGC Executive Director Bobby Stem, former OTA Director Tim Stewart, ODOT Director Tim Gatz, ODOT Chief Engineer TJ Dill, former board member Gene Love, and Senator Darcy Yak. Thank you for joining us this morning. First thing I'd like to do is to welcome and introduce our new board member that is replacing Mr. Love, who is retiring. Our new board member representing District 5 from Lawton is David Madigan. David, on behalf of the board, we welcome you and congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to be here. And first, I appreciate Senator Paxton for the appointment. And I look forward to working with this authority as well as the staff. So got big shoes to fill from my friend Colonel Love and his service to this organization. And I'm going to do my best to live up to his standard, but it's good to be here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to recognize our former board member and friend, Gene Love, Joey Kelly.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. This is always a tough deal when you have somebody that you've worked with for a really long time that you're when they've moved on and go to do something different. And so today, I want to read through some things that Mr. Love has done since he's been on the Turnpike Authority Board. And then at the conclusion of that, I'd like to invite, at the board's discretion, Director Gatz to come up and talk just a little bit about ODOT. Mr. Love began his tenure on the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority Board on March 28, 2011. Mr. Love served as chairman of the Engineering and Construction Committee from April 2011 through June of 2020, and he was elected chairman of the OTA Board, a role that he served from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Mr. Love has served a vital role on the board while contributing to many significant projects and programs during his tenure, including the following here. The $150 million 2011 construction program was developed to widen bridges and roadways for 7.5 miles of the Kilpatrick Turnpike and 7 miles of the Creek Turnpike. This project was finished in late 2013. It was the 6-lane project that happened at that time. Very significant. We've seen tremendous traffic increases and a reduction in accidents since those projects completed. The $1.19 billion 2015 Driving Forward Bond Program was developed to address the critical need to reconstruct, expand, and enhance our surface transportation system in Oklahoma. As a part of that program, 2 new turnpikes, the Kickapoo on the east side of Oklahoma City and the extension of the Southwest JKT were completed and open to traffic by the end of 2020, slightly earlier than projected opening dates. This program also included a first of its kind in the state of Oklahoma project delivery model to build, finance, and construct the Gilcrease Expressway on the west side of downtown Tulsa, opening to traffic in November of 2022. The $8.2 billion Access Oklahoma program is the largest reinvestment in the turnpike system in OTA history to improve traffic safety and facilitate better movement of products and people in both rural and urban areas in Oklahoma. This program includes both new turnpikes and improvements to existing turnpikes. OTA has completed 2 bond issues since October 2023 to begin funding this important 15-year reinvestment program. As chairman of the E&C Committee, Engineering and Construction Committee, for 9 years, Mr. Love and his committee oversaw $100 to $120 million annually of capital improvement projects in the authority's 5-year capital program. The board during this time oversaw an update to the historic Veneta Service Plaza, which was formerly called the Glass House, and in 2014 it was renamed the Will Rogers Archway on the Will Rogers Turnpike. Also, as part of that committee, Mr. Love championed a comprehensive cable barrier installation program designed to make the toll roads safer for the driving public. This program started in 2013 with the final project finishing in 2024. This program installed barrier on 314 miles of turnpike, totaling just under $116 million. During his time serving on the board, Mr. Love also saw historic milestones achieved with the conversion to cashless tolling across the turnpike system between 2021 and late 2024, and the move to interoperability with Texas, Kansas in late 2014, and then later the Turnpike Authority coming on board with Colorado and Florida turnpikes, which has greatly increased the usability and benefits of Pike Pass in our Pike Pass system for our customers. With that, I'll invite Mr. Gatz to come up, Director Gatz.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I appreciate the opportunity to come and acknowledge Mr. Love. And, you know, when you start to think about Gene Love, the term that comes to my mind is servant leader. Gene, whether that is his service to this country in his role as military and the work that he did to lead in the Army, whether that comes to his dedication to Fort Sill beyond his military service, his dedication to his community of Lawton, to the great state of Oklahoma. Gene epitomizes civil service and concern for the well-being of everybody around him. That's something that I've come to know during my acquaintance with him. You know, Gene and I started with the Department of Transportation under the Bellman administration. Gene served on the Transportation Commission from 1991 through 1995. And he and I got acquainted during that time period, had the opportunity to work with him on several projects in the Lawton area, and we became fast friends. Subsequent to that, obviously, during my tenure with the Turnpike Authority Board, I got to work more directly with Gene, and his leadership to transportation in Oklahoma is unparalleled, in my opinion. He has given of himself, he's given of his time. His family have made sacrifices because Gene wasn't there, because he was in service to the state of Oklahoma in one capacity or another. So again, the things that he's accomplished and seen accomplished during his tenure and the things that he's been a part of are nothing short of incredible. He's seen the transportation system in the state of Oklahoma, both on the tax-supported highways and the Turnpike Authority and the Turnpike system, transformed. And the thing I will tell you about his tenure on the board, and for that matter with the Transportation Commission, he has left the system better than he found it. And that's all any of us want to accomplish, is to make a difference for the future generations of Oklahoma. And again, that's something that Gene has been an incredible part of in his role. And on behalf of the Department of Transportation, I can't thank him enough for his dedication and his service. One of the things that you may or may not be familiar with is, and it seems a little bit unusual because usually You don't hand somebody a brick. But in the Department of Transportation world, this brick is significant because it is a brick from the original Route 66 pavement. And the significance of Route 66 is, for all practical purposes, that's where transportation in Oklahoma started. And right now, we're fast approaching the centennial celebration for Route 66. And the Department of Transportation presents these bricks, and I'll tell you, it is the equivalent of a football player having their jersey retired. It is the highest honor that we can give. And we wanted to present Mr. Love with a brick on behalf of the Department of Transportation, and I'll read to you what it says. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority recognizes Gene Love for his generous service to the people of Oklahoma as a board member representing District 5 in southwestern Oklahoma and the Panhandle from 2011 to 2025. The authority is proud to present him with this commemorative brick from historic Route 66 in appreciation for his passion for transportation. And again, the thing I'll tell you is this not only goes for his service to the Turnpike Authority, but certainly for his service to the Department of Transportation. So, Gene, I think if you'd come up, I think Joe and I are going to hand this to you and maybe take a picture.
We have several other things that the brick obviously came off Route 66 from ODOT, and we're proud to receive that from ODOT, to be able to present it to Mr. Love today. Really appreciate that. We also got an Oklahoma flag here that was flown over the Capitol a few weeks ago, as well as a picture of the entire board. I think this was just taken a few weeks, or maybe at the last board meeting. And then also a plaque that we'll present to him as well. But Mr. Chairman, if it'd be okay, I'd like to offer, if it pleases the board, Mr. Love an opportunity to address the board.
Absolutely.
Wow. Really, I'm kind of speechless, but if you know me, I'm really not. There are several people that I really have to recognize. When I got on the Turnpike Authority Board almost 15 years ago, the executive director was Tim Stewart, and I know Tim's here. He's here at almost every board meeting. Tim is a success story in himself. He started as a maintenance worker on the H.E. Bailey Turnpike and worked his way through the system to become the executive director. And I think he was with the Turnpike Authority over 30 years, Tim, and decided to leave Oklahoma and go to Colorado and be the head of the Turnpike system there, but he just couldn't stand it. He had to come back to Oklahoma. And when Tim left the Turnpike Authority, Gary Ridley, who was the Secretary of Transportation, asked me if I would chair the search committee to find a new executive director. And of course I did that. And we wondered, well, what are we going to do, for leadership during that interim period? And Neil McCaleb, who is an icon in transportation for Oklahoma, passed away some time ago, but Neil was just a great advocate for transportation in Oklahoma, former Secretary of Transportation, and we called Neil and asked him to come back and work with us while we were searching for a new executive director, and he did that. And I recall that we had I don't recall the exact number, but just below 200 applicants to be the executive director of the Turnpike Authority. And we spent 4 or 5 months going through that. Probably 65 or 70% of those weren't qualified, so we narrowed it down pretty rapidly. And we got to the final 2. And Gary Ridley called me and asked me if I'd come up and have lunch with him, and I did that. And I knew Tim from my time at ODOT, but Gary said, you know, and he just talked to me for probably an hour over lunch about all the things that Tim had done, and Tim had worked his way through the system also. You know, he's a great success story. He started as a draftsman at ODOT and worked his way up to be the deputy director, and that's where he was when we selected him to be the executive director at the Turnpike Authority. And I'll tell you, we couldn't have made a better selection. There's a couple of reasons for that. Tim's experience at ODOT and then coming in and very shortly becoming an expert at the Turnpike Authority has paid dividends, because what it's allowed us to do over the last few years is take a look at the various functions for both agencies and combine some of those functions to save money. And we've done that. And you know, that had never happened in the history of those 2 organizations. And it was kind of a competition in a way between the Turnpike Authority and ODOT. Neither one wanted to have anything to do with the other one, but that's totally changed over time, and it's changed for the good. And so Tim, when he politically actually had to leave his executive position here at the Turnpike Authority, 2 things he did. You know, I talked about the fact that he brought the 2 organizations together for cost savings, but the other thing he did that I thought was very important, he managed to steal Joe E. Kelly from ODOT and bring him over here. And Joe's another success story. You know, he started as a draftsman in the engineering department at ODOT, and we brought him over here to head up maintenance, construction, and engineering. And then he worked his way up to be the deputy director. And so it was a no-brainer for the board to select Joe to be the next executive director. And I'll tell you, we couldn't have made a better selection. So I've had the opportunity to work with 3 super executive directors for the Turnpike Authority, and also work with just a great board. Dana and Will and John and Todd and John Titsworth. You just couldn't work with a better group of people. But I also have to mention some of the staff, some of the additional staff. What's very important to the Turnpike Authority is our bond ratings. And we've had the highest bond ratings in the country the entire time I've been on the Turnpike Authority. So I have to recognize Julie Porter, who's our CFO, and Wendy Smith, who's really our bond guru, along with several other people. But if you see the budget that they prepare each year for the Turnpike Authority and what they do on our bond issues, and the fact that they maintain the highest bond ratings in the country, we just have an incredible staff across the board. I hate to mention just a few names like that, but I had to mention those. But the entire staff is absolutely incredible to work with. So when I resigned from the authority, my term wasn't up until 2030, but I'm getting old. And so I had a lot of reasons, personal reasons, to resign, and that was not an easy decision because I've enjoyed my time here on the Turnpike Authority. And, you know, we got through the Driving Forward program. That was about a 5-year plan. Now we've got a 15-year plan, and that's the Access Oklahoma program. And I think that program is absolutely critical and vital for the future of transportation in Oklahoma. So thank the authority, thank the staff for everything you do every day to give us the best roads and bridges in the state of Oklahoma, and safe roads for the driving public. That's what we're all about. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to make a comment to Gene. When I was appointed in 2019, along at the same time as Mr. Cohn and Mr. Titsworth, it was imperative that, you and Dana did a wonderful job of opening up yourselves to help 3 new members of the board learn on the fly as you speak. And I'll be forever indebted to you, Gene, for everything that you have led and shown me and taught me about this business. And you've been a great role model, and I promise you we'll do our best to continue to do what we've done with you on the board. So thank you for your service. Any other comments? Okay. We have another award, Paul Caesar.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Oh, sorry. You're welcome. Over the past year, the tolling industry has faced persistent phishing and smishing campaigns. This past October, at the annual IBTTA meeting in Denver, Colorado, 4 individuals were recognized for going above and beyond, working behind the scenes to identify solutions to combat these types of attacks. Their insights and best practices were shared broadly, helping to protect the entire tolling industry. One of the 4 individuals honored was our own Assistant Chief Information Security Officer, Josh Swinson. Please help me recognize Josh for this great award.
I believe all the board members have been provided a copy of the minutes from our regular meeting on October 7th, 2025. I ask for the approval of minutes, a motion for the approval.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote electronically, Y for yes, N for no, or A for abstain. Voting is ended and the minutes for the October 7th meeting have been approved. Next on the agenda, items of business from the finance items, Mr. Todd Cohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is item 1316, and Ms. Smith will present that for us.
Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. As Mr. Love was standing up here, I couldn't help but think he's so gracious to obviously recognize all of us and turn it around, but I swear we weren't fishing for compliments. So, all right, so today, the 2026 annual budget is being presented for your consideration. I wanted to start out by thanking Jonna Grant and Linda Wilson for their hard work on the 2026 annual budget. They're in training today, a very big training. So they've generated this document after working with each of the division managers to help them prepare their budgets and ensuring that each division could obtain the funds that they need to keep up the high quality of services that OTA provides. I couldn't be prouder of their work. With that, I am happy to present the 2026 operating and maintenance budget for your consideration. This budget is unchanged as compared to what I presented last month. It ensures that OTA can continue to operate the facilities both safely and efficiently. This year's budget comes in at $165.1 million, an increase of just under $8.8 million, and results in a 5.62% increase over 2025's O&M budget. And as I talked about last month, the most significant increase involves a change in funding for certain expenses from the general fund to the operating fund. The general fund can be used for projects that are in development, and regularly projects are reviewed to see if they're still properly in development or, and therefore eligible for the general fund, or in production where those projects should be appropriately funded from O&M. So this 6.9% increase represents the transfer of budgeted funding from the general fund to the operations fund for certain projects, which most significantly represent the expenses related to cashless tolling. This is not an increase in money out the door, just a transfer from one fund to another, and I don't think I really made that clear last month. Again, everybody did a great job getting cashless tolling up and running, and so that was a part of this transfer. The next category of changes to the budget include changes to expenses relating to tolling. These changes include an increase in credit card fees due to increased payment volumes, changes to our tag fulfillment program, adjustments to expenses related to plate pay as more real-time information is analyzed, as well as changes in interoperability fees as OTA continues to pursue national interoperability. And finally, OTA has increased its budget related to the oversight and continued implementation of the Access Program. This includes some reorganization of needed staffing along with legal and bond-related costs. These two categories related to tolling and the Access Program increased the budget by approximately $1.8 million. And as usual, the division managers do a terrific job analyzing their budgetary needs every year and working with the budgeting staff to not only ensure that their divisions can obtain the funds that would keep them and with the high quality of services that OTA provides, but also to handle that process in a fiscally responsible way. So that concludes my overview of the 2026 annual budget. Additionally, $165,020,177 capital budget for 2026 is incorporated. It is recommended by staff that the authority adopt the 2026 operating and maintenance budget in the amount of $165,056,062. It is also recommended in accordance with Section 505 of the trust agreement that the authority accept the $36,070,240 required reserve maintenance deposit certified by the consulting engineer. And I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions? If there are none, you guys have done a fantastic job, and I thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I would move for approval of item 1316 as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1316. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting has ended and item 1316 has been approved.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, is item 1317. Jordan Purdue is going to present that for us. Morning, Jordan.
Good morning. My overview is going to be a lot more brief for the Gilcrease budget. As just a brief refresher, the non-system trust operates in a very similar fashion to the system trust, where the budget is a two-step process. Last month, the board voted to accept the preliminary budget, and this item is for the adoption of the actual budget. And that amount is unchanged from last month and is in $1.399 million. That is an increase of about $68,000 from last year's budget, and so far we are on course to come in under budget for 2025. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? And if there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1317 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1317. We have a second.
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1317 has been approved.
And Mr. Purdue, I believe you have 1318 also.
Yes, sir. I'm going to do this one a little different for myself. I'm going to read the actual agenda item and then explain why this is a good thing. So submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is a request that the executive director of the authority be authorized to approve the payment of a 5-year arbitrage rebate on the outstanding refunding second senior revenue bonds series 2020A scheduled for December 2025. So when a governmental entity issues tax-exempt debt, there are a number of restrictions that come with it. And one of the most significant restrictions came about during the 1986 tax code reform, and which brings us here today in the form of the arbitrage rebate payment to the IRS. To prevent an entity from issuing debt solely to earn money on the investments, the IRS imposes a limit on how much the tax-exempt bond funds can earn. Generally speaking, arbitrage is earned when the funds of an issue are used to acquire investments that earn a yield higher than the yield on the bonds of the issue. The rebate amount is equal to the excess of the amount earned on all investments purchased with gross proceeds of the bonds over the amount which would have been earned if such investments were invested at a rate equal to the yield of the bonds. So that was a mouthful, but the computation must be made every 5 years until the final redemption or the maturity of the outstanding debt. The last rebate payment made by the authority was in 2021 for roughly $1.3 million. We're here today for the 2028 bonds, which were issued in October of 2020. As you'll recall, this was during peak COVID time, and interest rates were at historic lows. So the interest rate on the 2028 bonds was 0.916. So as you can imagine, rates have come up quite a bit since then, which is why we're here today for the rebate payment. We are working with our trustee, our controller's office, and our consultant, Hilltop, who determines the actual amount. It takes a village to get to the actual amount, but we're expecting it to be between $2 and $3 million. And really, this is a good thing because any government entity should seek to maximize the interest earned on their investments. And when it goes over that, it's a simple payment to the IRS. It's a normal course of business. And I think that with this payment, we've proven, again, to be good stewards of the OTA's money and investments. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and hope you accept the agenda item.
I would just comment that while in most cases we're all trying to minimize what we give the IRS, this is one time when I think we've done an excellent job of maximizing what we give them by being very smart with how we invest our money. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1318 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1318. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1318 has been approved.
The next item for consideration, Mr. Chairman, is item 1319. And Ms. Amanda, good morning.
Good morning. Submitted for consideration and approval of the authority is a request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute statements of work related to staff augmentation for an amount not to exceed $13,198,479. These statements of work are for staff augmentation for the Information Technology Division and Information Security Branch. These statements of work will be assigned through master service consulting contracts approved by the authority and statewide contracts included in the 2026 budget. Staff have reviewed the above item and recommend for approval.
Are there any questions? I always find it funny that we're negotiating, but we're telling them our top dollar when in the negotiation. So I would move for approval of item 1319 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1319. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1319 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, my final item for consideration is item 1320. Ms. Patrice Williams. Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. This morning, I'm submitted for your consideration and approval to the authority to request to authorize the director to negotiate and execute an amendment to the 2021 license plate image review agreement with Conduent State and Local Solutions, Inc. The previous scaled cost ranged from 0.610 to 0.897 per image set. To accommodate for rise in cost and associated with AET plate pay image review, the new scale cost is 0.626 to 0.920 per image set. That is a tongue twister. This increase is included in the budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of item 1320 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1320. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1320 has been approved.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more, item 1321, to be presented by Micah Gardner.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority. Item number 1321 is the payment register prepared by the Comptroller Division. This register includes all payments made by the OTA for the month of September 2025. The staff has reviewed this item and recommends the item for approval.
Any questions? If none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1321 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1321. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1321 has been approved. Our next items on the agenda are the engineering and construction items. Mr. Vice Chairman Will Berry.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. The first item in the Engineering and Construction Division is item 1322, which will be presented by Mr. Jeff Garter.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the board. Presented for consideration of the authority is a request that the following change orders be approved. Of these change orders, one adds new items to compensate the contractor for additional work, and two credits time back to the contract. This item has been reviewed by staff and is recommended for approval, and as always, be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any comments for Mr. Garter? No. If not, I make a motion that we approve this item as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1322. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately.
Mr. Garter, item 1323. Oops, sorry.
The item 1322 was approved.
Okay.
Sorry about that, yeah.
Yep, all good.
Go ahead.
Item 1323 is for on-demand inspection services, contract modification for access bond program projects. Submitted for the consideration of the authority is a request that the following item be approved. A summary of the item is as follows. This contract is for pre-stressed concrete beam and structural steel inspection services for the Access Oklahoma Bond Program projects. This is contract modification number 1. The consultant is Clifton Ashford and Associates for a not-to-exceed amount of $4 million. This modification is for additional funds for the construction services agreement. The amount due under this contract modification number 1 shall be a not-to-exceed amount of $4 million. This revises the contract amount from $745,000 to $4,745,000. When this contract was initially established in July of 2025 of this year, it was put in place for the Hakey Creek project on the Creek Turnpike initially, with the expectation to bring this contract modification to the board for approval around this time, to request the necessary funds to perform these services for all of the access projects. Projecting these projects out over the next 2 years, this will cover all structural fabrication inspection for projects over that period. Construction staff and the consulting engineer has reviewed the above item and recommends approval.
Are there any questions for Mr. Garter? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1323 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1323. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended, and item 1323 has been approved.
Item 1324, Mr. Garter.
Yes, sir. So item 1324 is for on-demand construction management contracts for capital plan projects system-wide. This is contract modification number 1. Submitted for the consideration of the authority is a request that this contract modification for the on-demand construction management contracts be approved. This modification is to exercise the optional 1-year extension to each of the 12 separate on-demand construction management contracts authorized by Oklahoma Statute 69-708.2G and approved by the authority on December 12th, 2023 in Agenda Item 1142. The total not to exceed aggregate amount authorized for these contract modifications shall be $6 million. This authorized amount will be used collectively to assign work pursuant to task orders issued under the separate on-demand contracts. This revises the combined aggregate total amount not to exceed from $14 million to $20 million. A summary of the firms is listed below. Atkins Realis, Benchmark, CEC, EST, Freese and Nichols, Garver, Hudson Prince, Lochner, Olson, Poe and Associates, Smith Roberts and Baldesweiler, Standard Testing. To date, we've issued task orders for 37 projects from this contract since it was authorized and anticipate this to be used for another calendar year of projects through the end of December 31st, 2026. Construction staff and the consulting engineer has reviewed this item and recommends approval.
Any questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1324 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1324. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. The voting is ended and item 1324 has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Garter. Next item is item 1325, which will be presented by Mr. Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good to see everyone this morning. Engineering Division has two items we'd like to present for consideration here today. First item is 1325. This is two construction contract awards in the one agenda item here. First project is T26503A. This is an access program project. This is widening of the Turner Turnpike TPO, bridge number 18.5 and roadway approaches over County Road North-South 3310 near Wellston and Lincoln County. This bridge widening is being done to accommodate the future widening of the Turner Turnpike. As you can see there, we have 8 bidders on the project. The low bidder, Sherwood Construction, the amount of $3,053,756.14. This is about 19.8% under the engineer's estimate. I'll run through the second project real quick, and then we'll take questions. Second project's item C62D. This is pavement rehabilitation and diamond grind on the Indian Nation Turnpike, and this is a capital plan project. This is DBR and grind from milepost 30 to 52 in Pushmataw, Atoka, and Pittsburgh counties. Had 4 bidders on the project. Low bidder was Diamond Surface Incorporated. The amount of $12,683,988.04. This is about 7.2% under the engineer's estimate. Staff's reviewed these bids, and we recommend approval, and happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. I have a comment. It's nice, Darren, to be able to see in these inflationary times we've been experiencing some bids lower than what our estimates are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, hopefully this trend will continue for us because we've got a lot of projects coming your way.
Good.
Any more comments or questions? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1325 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1325. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1325 has been approved.
Mr. Butler, item 1326.
Yes, item 1326, this is an engineering services contract. This is project number ATB 35005/35605A. This is with Hudson Prince, a not to exceed amount of $916,508.55. Again, this is an access program project. This project's located immediately northeast of Chickasha and intersecting with State Highway 92. Work includes adding Half Diamond interchange, including a westbound off-ramp and an eastbound on-ramp. County Road 1330, also known as Ballard Road, will also be realigned on the south side of the turnpike, and a portion of State Highway 92 will be widened and overlaid as part of this project. Design services to be provided include roadway, traffic collection and analysis, right-of-way mapping, survey, and geotechnical investigation. Again, the amount of that contract's a not to exceed of $916,508.55. Staff's reviewed the above item. We recommend approval.
Any questions or comments? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1326 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1326. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended and item 1326 has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Next item is item 1327, which will be presented by Mr. Todd Gore.
Good morning. Thank you for today. Item 1327 is declare surplus property and authorize direct to sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of the same. The following parcels consistent of approximate acres at the location identified below were previously acquired by the authority. A staff review of the properties was conducted, and it was determined that a portion of the described parcels and approximate acres identified was acquired as an uneconomic remnant and is not needed for any construction or maintenance needs for the turnpike system. Based on the determination, the staff recommends the authority consider and vote and declare the authorized parcels surplus and authorize director to obtain a survey, appraisal, sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of the property, including use of land swap to acquire other properties as needed on the Turnpike system. So you'll see I have a current list of 9 properties across the system. The first few are over in the Newcastle area. All of these properties on this list were part of a negotiation with the landowners to do a toll acquisition. It was due to the impact of our projects to their property. During the negotiation, we agreed that that'd be the best for us and the landowners themselves, and so we agreed to purchase all the property with that. And so as we're trying to make sure we get the properties back on the tax roll, we are asking to be in the surplus and use those appropriately. With that, I'll answer any question on any particular property you have, or any other questions.
Any questions or comments? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1327 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1327. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and item 1327 has been approved.
Mr. Gore, item 1328.
Item 1328 is consider and adopt a resolution of necessity for the condemnation of certain real properties interest along the east-west connector, the Turner Turnpike, and Will Rogers Turnpike. Submitted for the approval of authority is an item to consider and adopt the attached resolution of necessity for condemnation on certain real properties interest along the east-west connector, the Turner Turnpike, and Will Rogers Turnpike. The items attached, there are a total of 9 items. Majority of these are due to title issues. As part of the acquisition process, we always get a abstract title from the closing company, and they flag certain title issues that arise from that, and for us to get clear title, working with the landowners and working through the negotiation process, and we go to the condemnation to clear up the title. Once the courts determine who we can negotiate with, we then continue negotiations with the appropriate owner of the property. And we are always in constant communication with the family and the members that are associated with these transactions throughout the whole process, and are even to this day. So with that, I answer any questions you have.
Are there any comments for Mr. Gore?
I'll just make a comment that anytime you're dealing with title issues, the condemnation route expedites the process. If you went through a quiet title suit, you would end up in the same place and have to do this in addition. So the condemnation route, when we're dealing with title issues, is actually the most expedited way to get to the point we need to be to deal with the correct owners.
Yes, and it also puts the cost on us.
Right.
Any other comments? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1328 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1328. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately.
No. Your vote should be no.
The voting is ended, and item 1328's been approved.
What you're doing is morally wrong. You should not be taking people's property
Excuse me.
for projects to only make money.
Excuse me, please recall that when I opened the meeting, I explained there'd be no public comment would be taken. I would ask you not to comment.
Taking people's property away from them merits a little more of a response than not even a discussion on your part. You should have had so many questions and so much discussion.
I understand you disagree and would like to be heard. However, this is not the appropriate forum. There are many avenues for the public to communicate with OTA staff and the board and to express your views.
Shame on you.
I respectfully ask you to not disrupt our meeting. Thank you.
A little late for that.
Next item is item 1329, which will be presented by Mr. Jeremy Smith.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the authority. Submitted for consideration by the Maintenance Division is a request for approval of the following items. The first one is under ITB 2023-020. This is modification number 1. This modification is for additional funds for the electrical repairs and services agreement on the Turner, Kilpatrick, and Kickapoo turnpikes. The amount due under this contract modification shall be a not-to-exceed amount of $755,000. This revises the original contract amount from $745,000 to a total of $1,500,000. The second item there is under the same ITB 2023-020, modification number 1. This is also a modification for additional funds for the electrical repairs and services agreement on the Cherokee, Cimarron, Chickasaw, Creek, Gilcrease, H.E. Bailey, Indian Nation, Kickapoo, Kilpatrick, Muskogee, Turner, and Will Rogers. So all the turnpikes. The amount due under this contract modification shall be a not-to-exceed amount of $755,000. This revises the original contract amount from $745,000 to a total of $1.5 million. Maintenance staff has reviewed and recommends approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Smith? If not, I make a motion that we approve item 1329 as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval of item 1329. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is entered and item 1329 has been approved. Thank you, Mr. Berry. We're moving on to the reports section of our agenda items this morning. Our first report is the Highway Patrol Report. Captain Gary Vinson.
Morning, members. If you'll indulge me to break protocol for just a moment, I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity. Mr. Love, from us, from me, thank you for your support. September report for the patrol. The Highway Patrol troopers made a little over 5,400 violator contacts, assisted 916 motorists. We investigated 138 motor vehicle collisions. We had 2 fatalities. Both of those were one-car accidents. One was on the Creek Turnpike, the other was on the Turner. We had 4 interdictions, drug interdictions. We have special emphasis going with a number of 29 shifts right now. And we have more special emphasis planned, just FYI. Troopers work more than 946 shifts and average 220 miles per shift for a total of 209,000 miles for that month. That's pretty much it. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions, or a question in regard to the 2 fatalities. Do you know, by chance, were the deceased wearing seatbelts?
Were they what?
Wearing seatbelts?
One, I don't believe was not. One, I think, was a medical issue. The other one was cutting through the center wall.
Okay. Again, especially with Director Gatz here, I wanted to make a comment. People really need to focus on wearing their seatbelts. Put down your telephones, your social media items, and focus on driving, especially in our work zones. It's just critical. So when you're out there driving, make sure your other inhabitants of the vehicles have their seatbelt on and you have yours on.
That sign out on the Turner Turnpike where it says seatbelt enforcement in action, it's still out there, and we're still looking at that closely. So,
yeah, thank you. Our next report is our consulting engineer report. Mr. Jimmy Sparks.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. Concerning the trust requirements, I reported last month that our 2025 annual inspection data was submitted to OTA staff last month. I report a lot on reinvestment, but in the past I've talked about pavement and bridge conditions that you'll find in our annual report, and certainly on the pavements, it's a pavement condition index, or a PCI, and that's only part of the story when you talk about ride quality. So as part of ODOT's requirements for reporting pavement conditions to the FHWA, they do automated survey at least every other year that gets a profile, that uses lasers, and they drive the road and gets a profile. And that the measure of that is an International Roughness Index. And that's basically the measure of bumps per mile with a few nuances in there. A good IRI measures less than 95 inches per mile, and a poor IRI measures over 170. So with the heavy reinvestment in the diamond grinding Dow bar retrofit projects, as you know, and Darren, you approved INMC 62D today at about 13 million. I was looking at some of the data from ODOT. So in 2021, the Indian Nation, and that's where a lot of reinvestment of this has been made, as far as the roughness index goes, they rated in a good, fair, poor. 27% was good, 57% was fair, and 9% was poor. That was in 2021. So with those series of projects, and this is 2024 data, and we probably had a couple other projects, including the one that was approved today that is not part of this. We're up to 89% in good, 4% in fair, and 7% in poor. So, and I will point out that a poor IRI is not an unsafe condition. It's just those bumps, slab to slab faulting you feel as you drive down the road. It's just a measure of those. So it's just a great example of the continual series of reinvestments and the impacts to the system. So in October, our engineers checked 59 special overloads for passage on the Turnpike system. No special inspections in our monthly report, but next month there will be one for an impact to a Will Rogers Bridge that we are working on repair details. As always, our capital plan project summary was in our monthly report, and happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Thanks, Jimmy. Our next report is our trustee report. Ms. Singleton.
Good morning, Chair Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. As bond trustee to the authority, all monthly debt service payments, debt service transfers were made for the semi-annual payments due to the bondholders as required by the trust agreement. As Wendy and Jordan presented earlier, the annual budgets were approved, and the budgets are compliant to requirements of the trust agreement, which we have received. Also, as Jordan stated earlier, as trustee, we have been working with Hilltop Securities as rebate analyst and the authority on the 5-year arbitrage due on the Series 2028 bonds. Questions on my report?
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Singleton.
Thank you.
Our next report are the operating results. Ms. Wendy Smith.
Chairman Jones, member of the authority, Director E. Kelly. Again, we appreciate your consideration and approval of the 2026 annual budget for the system as well as the annual budget for the Gilcrease Turnpike. So again, I thank my staff, Jonna and Linda, for their hard work on the system budget and Jordan's hard work, as well as his presentation of arbitrage. It's such a complicated thing, and I was like, good job. It's tough. As for the month of September, OTA continues to be in a strong financial position, as can be seen from the operations report for September that was prepared by the Comptroller Division. Net toll revenues for September of 2025 came in on the system at $40.3 million as compared to September of 2024. Total transactions grew by 2.5% as compared to last year, with heavy truck traffic continuing to remain strong over that same period. And again, we really take a look at heavy traffic, especially on the heavy truck traffic, because that's a big indicator of the economy, and we always stay interested in that. Additionally, year-to-date toll revenues continue to outpace budgeted projections, and collectively for the year, division managers held revenue fund operating expenses to 19.5% under the 2025 operating and maintenance budget, and we continue to steadily achieve and exceed our trust-required senior and total debt service ratios. So along with our division managers being fiscally responsible as they request their budget, they also keep a really good eye on how much they're spending, and we really appreciate that. So any questions?
Any questions or comments? Thanks, Wendy. Great job.
Okay,
you and
thanks.
your staff. Our next report is a quarterly Access Oklahoma update. Ms. Lynanne Nelson.
Good morning, Chairman Jones, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly.
I want to thank you all for approving of Darren's Turner item this morning. This will assist on the execution of another construction project on the Access Oklahoma Bond Program. Today, I'm going to be presenting the last Access update for 2025. I want to start off with the progress of the construction that's ongoing on the Turner Turnpike. So we're going to start on the east end at the East of Bristow project. We currently do have the median wall that is completing soon, and we plan on switching traffic in this month. That will the only thing that will remain is the concrete pavement that you see the current traffic driving on. We will, as soon as we finish slipping that 24-foot wide pavement, we will complete that project. And that will be completed sometime in late December or early January. This project will improve the capacity of the Turner from a 4-lane to a 6-lane with safety improvements and capacity improvements, just like how driving forward was. So we're very excited about that. As we make our way west, we're going to Stroud at the Service Plaza. This is another project that is approaching the finish line. Jeff and his team are reporting that the Loves and McDonald's will be open to the traveling public November 13th. This is huge as it provides back to the traveling public their westbound Service Plaza. Construction is still ongoing in the area, so we want to make everyone aware that this is an active work zone and for everyone to use caution. The project's completion is as early as Q1 of 2026. Continuing west, we have the Turner at Wellston. We are projecting to have 66 and the Turner open in late November or early December. This opening is another success, just like Stroud, as the highly anticipated community will have their pavement back, the new and improved Route 66. We want to thank the City of Wellston and Lincoln County for their patience during this project, as we know that this project is well worth the wait. Also, artwork and special lighting will soon begin on this unique project. Now that I got you on the west side of the Turner, I'm going to take you back over to the Creek Turnpike, and we're going to talk about the Hakey Creek. The work roads under the bridge are currently ongoing, and we do have the pavement crossovers ongoing at the top. All of the traffic will be switched over to the westbound bridge starting November 10th as they start the construction along the eastbound bridge. I want to recap the opening of the JKT that we did present over to you all last quarter. That was the JKT between I-35 and Eastern. We did widen the JKT from 4 lanes to 6 lanes within 8 months, and it was fully open to traffic. This is a great example of the great capacity improvements that we are doing for the Oklahoma City Metro, and we plan on doing very similar projects of this nature in 2026. Moving over to the East-West Connector, we're going to talk about the River Bridge, and I want to update the board about this new Canadian River crossing. This project is on schedule for a November construction letting with the anticipated December award. This $140 million project will kick off the construction of the East-West Connector. The Turnpike Authority will introduce another necessary river crossing that will connect Newcastle to Moore and Norman. This river bridge, along with the East-West Connector, will reduce the travel distance down to 12 miles with free flow traffic, which heavily emphasizes in the travel time reliability. Moving over to right-of-way acquisitions. Right-of-way acquisitions are continuing to move forward and are gaining a lot of momentum. Todd and Team Right-of-Way are conducting over 35 plan reviews within this last quarter, and we have now acquired over 45 acquisitions. These acquisitions are all over the program, which include the Will Rogers, Indian Nation, and East-West Connector, to name a few. 2026 is a very exciting year for us as we have a lot of projects in the upcoming lettings. As we have been heavy in the pre-construction phase for the last couple of years, 2026 will be the implementation of these efforts. We have up to 27 projects ranging from $3 million to $150 million. These projects are along the Turner, the East-West Connector, the JKT, the Will Rogers, H.E. Bailey, and Indian Nation turnpikes. Moving on to design, we're going to talk about the South Extension Design Update. This is another highlight of the program as we have kicked off the design of this alignment. We did change on the accessoklahoma.com website. You will see that the proposed alignment was turquoise. Now it is yellow, indicating the active design. This active design keeps us on track for the 12 to 18 month right-of-way plan progress that we ensured the public during our alignment announcement. This was a huge lift from Darren and the South Extension team, so I want to thank you all for your hard work. And last but not least, we do have the East-West Connector at I-44 interchange near Newcastle. This is the last highlight of the public involvement process at this interchange. On the accessoklahoma.com website, we have posted a link for the public involvement portal for project feedback. We have sent postcards to the local zip codes along with the project with this same information. This virtual public involvement opened on November 3rd, which was yesterday, and will run throughout December 3rd. We strongly encourage the public to go to the website and provide any and all feedback for this project. That concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Just one.
I'd like to make one comment.
Sure.
For those who might not remember, when we first started the widening of Turner and Tulsa, it was originally supposed to go all the way to Bristow. And Bristow graciously allowed us to move it further east at Tulsa's request. So it makes me very happy because of their graciousness to see that we are about to complete that project. So that's really a good thing, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. And City of Bristow has been a great stakeholder to us.
Yes, they have been very gracious.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to comment that obviously your team and our construction partners done a great job on the Turner projects. It seems like yesterday we were breaking ground on those, and now we're getting close to being finished. I know ODOT's been a good partner on the Wellston Bridge and Route 66, so that's a good congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Our final report is our director's report, Director Joey Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board, for letting me get back up again. I know we've gone a little long today, but we had lots of really important things to cover. I've got a couple of updates for the board. Well, first, I want to welcome the new board member. I didn't get to do that earlier, got wrapped up in some of the other things we were doing, but on behalf of all the Turnpike Authority staff, welcome aboard to the board. So a little bit of update, just in the last, over the course of the last month, a few things have taken place since the last board meeting. On October 9th, we were able to get in front of the legislature and have a really great discussion with our, with LOFT. For those that don't know, LOFT is the Legislative Office of Fiscal Transparency. They worked with us for about 16 months. We provided them information, answered questions as they tried to answer some questions that have been posed to them by the legislature, mostly addressing the costs of Oklahoma's system of toll roads, the impact of cross-pledging, and bond refunding. We talked about the analyzation of the feasibility of transitioning the toll-funded roads to taxpayer-funded roads, transferring what we currently collect tolls on over to the DOT. And they just wanted to put together a kind of a roadmap and maybe an impact analysis of what that looked like. As I stated on October 9th at the Capitol, the OTA really appreciated LOFT because they really did a great job of digging deep and being somebody else, third party, independent of the Turnpike Authority, to tell the story of how we fund transportation in Oklahoma. The Department of Transportation has lots of roadway that they try to operate, maintain, and take care of, using motor fuel tax and general fund from taxpayers, and we're trying to leverage that by having some facilities in our state where we collect a toll from just the users that drive on it. So our user fee funded system is sustainable, and we've been able to. And one of the things that they talked about in that was that we are the new highway builders of the state. So when we talk about in our state at a high level, people moving into Oklahoma and Oklahoma's economy being good. And if you can't feel it from the south side of Oklahoma across the Red River, you can feel Texas growing into Oklahoma, just the number of people that are moving in along the entire border with Texas. And, when we talk about needing to build the loops around Oklahoma City and Tulsa, while I'm sure that Director Gatz and the DOT team would love to build a new route. It is just not currently feasible under the current structure that we have to fund transportation. So it's really fallen to the Turnpike Authority to, and been requested of the Turnpike Authority to take a look at building these new routes and really, and finishing that. A few takeaways from the report that I want to highlight here is that OTA's debt is not a debt of the state of Oklahoma. The cost to build, maintain, operate the Turnpike network, service the bond debt is not an Oklahoma taxpayer obligation like other state and local transportation infrastructure. Turnpike projects are fully funded by toll revenues paid only by those who travel on them today. And today, we did a report, since we went cashless in November of last year, we did a report from March through, I think, July, and found that about 50% of the tolls that we collect come from out-of-state drivers. That's taking a look at where the Pike Pass, what state the Pike Pass invoice is sent to, and where the plate pay invoice is sent to. So we were able to identify that, and we'd always said somewhere around 42%. I've heard different numbers, but now we're able to really get that because we're doing the license plate tolling, and we wanted to highlight that it's 50% now out of state. So that allows us to leverage out-of-state dollars to build and maintain Oklahoma transportation infrastructure that really benefits Oklahomans. OTA has been successful in its mission as evidenced by the high credit ratings from independent credit rating agencies, while also maintaining one of the lowest toll rates in the nation, and definitely one of the lowest regionally. When the opportunity arises to refund OTA bond debt at a lower interest rate and save millions of dollars, OTA pursues those opportunities. To be clear, a bond refunding does not extend the debt repayment period originally agreed to when the bonds were issued. Whether the cost to build, operate, and maintain the Turnpike system should be transferred to ODOT to be paid for by Oklahoma taxpayers or maintained as originally envisioned, presents the legislature with important policy decisions to consider. OTA believes loss findings will help inform these decisions. And again, this last legislative session and the one before, 2023, 2024, 2025 legislative sessions, Jordan, Perdue, and I are at the Capitol just about every day. We're trying to pay attention to what's going on at the Capitol and really just trying to address the questions that come up, in particular around legislation that's being contemplated. Also, just this last week, Trent January, our chief engineer, and TJ Dill, our former chief engineer and deputy director, now the chief engineer for the Department of Transportation, were able to present at an interim study about work zone safety. OTA has implemented some innovative measures in work zones to improve safety. We installed temporary rumble strips. If you saw those at Wellston, we tried to put those down early in the spring, and some of them are in that middle picture there. They came up when they got a lot of water on them, a lot of rain, and some of them came up. We put them back down. They stayed mostly for the summer, which I think is all you can ask out of something that's temporary like that. Understanding that it's being hit by an 80,000-pound load hundreds, if not thousands of times a day. So those were really good. We had an increased amount of pavement markers and reflectors. We also implemented and have had implemented since the Driving Forward program a safety patrol vehicle that we leverage through a third party. We've bid out the work, and we have a safety patrol vehicle that drives the work zone on the Turner Turnpike end to end, just about continuously looking for stranded motorists. So on the Turner Turnpike, especially the section there east of Bristow, where we have barrier wall on each side during certain phases of the construction, if you have an emergency, nobody plans to get a flat tire, run out of gas, battery go dead, those kind of things. When something happens in that work zone, there's no place for you to go. And so we provide this courtesy patrol vehicle. They carry a little gasoline, they carry some jumper cables, and if they need to, they can hook onto a vehicle and pull it out of the work zone. The goal there is to prevent secondary crashes that occur in some of those backups. And so it's just been something that has been greatly successful during the Driving Forward program when we had, at any given time, 9 or 10 miles under construction. This current project's a little over 6, and they're patrolling that routinely. Let's see here, I've lost my spot. So we're ready to work with the legislature. I'm still on work zone here. We're ready to work with the legislature to talk about some additional tools, such as work zone safety cameras. operated in coordination with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Actually, a group of us from ODOT and OTA, both Joni, Trent, and I, got to go to Arkansas where they've implemented one of these systems. Actually, they've got 3 of them. And the way it kind of works is they set up a camera with radar that's certified inside the work zone. And as vehicles are driving by, it's checking speed, and it allows a trooper that sits at the end of the work zone to be able to, if they see a speeding vehicle that is excessively speeding, they're able to pull that vehicle over. What we currently have, the system we utilize in Oklahoma, we use troopers in our work zones. They usually sit at the beginning of the work zone, and that is to encourage motorists to slow down in our work zones. But when they see a speeding motorist, they have to abandon their post at the beginning of the work zone, and then usually follow them through it and pull somebody over after the work zone. This allows them to stay on the end of the work zone and kind of work the way that we use airplane enforcement in our state. In a way that in Arkansas, they've seen a great reduction in speeds through the work zones, and they've also seen a drop in accidents. I think I'm going to get this backwards because I usually do. I think they leased 2 of them and they purchased 1. And it's just been tremendous. We got to visit with the Arkansas DOT director while we were there in Arkansas taking a look at it. And so it's something that we're interested in visiting about coming into this legislative session. A new law by Chairwoman Nicole Miller also took effect November 1st that prohibits Oklahoma drivers from using handheld cell phones and other electronic communication devices in active school or work zones. We had some legislation. The law was pretty clear that if you were distracted in driving in a work zone, this tells you that you're not supposed to use the phone at all. When you're in a work zone or especially a school zone, really both, if you're in any way distracted with a device in your hand or trying to talk on the phone, it can greatly increase the chance of having an accident. So we're really we're supportive of that and really thank her for introducing that legislation. On the safety front, we have a couple of things that we want to talk about today. One is on my drive-in this morning, and some of you may have seen that on your drive-in this morning, the number of deer alongside the highway. Our maintenance staff, and I'll look to Jeremy, as of a couple of weeks ago, they started working Saturdays and Sundays with a service patrol of type that goes out and makes sure that we don't have any animals that are in the way of our traveling public on our roadways. It's really been tremendous to get some of those things cleared. I just want to remind all drivers that this is, if you're a hunter, it's called the rut. If you're not a hunter, then you know it as deer mating season. And the issue that we have right now is that deer aren't. Typically, I see them up and down the sides of our roads routinely grazing. This time of year, they're running, and they're either running from a buck or chasing a doe, right? And so it's causing some additional accidents. I saw several vehicles that have been impacted or that had impacted a deer this morning. So really at the daylight, early in the morning, late in the evening, and all night long, if you're out driving on any roadway, you need to slow down this time of year. Don't outrun your headlights, and make sure you're watching those roadsides for animals that might run out. We are also getting ready to enter the winter weather season. So we've come up with some winter weather safety kits that'll be available at pikepass.com, and then they'll also be available at our stores, where we will be able to offer this winter weather safety kit for children to help during those longer trips during the holidays. This is really to get kids involved and paying attention to winter weather and some of the things that can occur. The kits include a winter weather coloring sheet, word search and crossword puzzle, as well as stickers. And by the end of this week, these new kits will be available at our locations and on our website. We, and especially our maintenance folks, prepare well in advance of winter weather entering the state. So over the course of this summer, our folks have purchased some equipment, purchased some material, salt and sand material. We've got mag chloride. All of our tanks are full. The salt sheds are full. And we've got 38 crews, 148 heavy equipment operators, a total of 100 trucks with plows, including 17 tow plows. Right, Jeremy? Got them a number right that time. Meanwhile, we're asking motorists to start preparing now for winter weather. As a reminder, posted speed limits are for when conditions are optimal. That's daytime dry pavement. Drivers are reminded that the roadways can become slick very quickly, and motorists are encouraged to drive for the conditions at the time. While pre-treating helps mitigate icy conditions initially, it does not eliminate roadway issues entirely. This is why we ask motorists to be our partners in safely navigating during inclement weather. You can see our snowplow cameras. We have live cameras that update an image just every few minutes at www.okroads.org or on the Drive Oklahoma mobile app. Please, please, please use caution around our snowplows. Last year, Mr. Chairman, I think that you reached out to me and said, how's everything going? And we were a few hours into the first snowstorm, and we'd had 4 of our plow trucks that had been impacted by a driver that was trying to pass, a driver that was passing too closely. We posted some of the videos from those vehicles to social media. It is a major impact to us when we go into a storm with an amount of equipment and an amount of manpower that we know we have, and within a few hours, some of that equipment is taken off. There is no store to run to and buy another snowplow. So immediately we're pulling those into shops and trying to do repairs. Sometimes, we're using some baling wire and some duct tape to get the truck back on the road so we can get it going again. And so really want to thank Jeremy and his team, the entire maintenance team, for all the work that they do during this upcoming snow and ice season. We pre-treat with mag chloride on the turnpike system, trying to prevent that initial ice buildup. But as you know, in Oklahoma, typically winter weather comes with a rainstorm first that can wash some of those things off, not allowing it to really serve its purpose. So we'll be monitoring as soon as the first snowstorms presented in the weather, and we'll be tracking that. And always, Mr. Chairman, wear your seatbelt. And I'd be
Thank you,
happy to
Joe.
answer any questions.
Anybody have any comments or questions? If not, I want to conclude with, again, thanks to former board chair and board person Gene Love for all of his service. Welcome David Madigan to the board. And I asked for a motion for adjournment to our next meeting of Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote appropriately. Voting is ended, and we're adjourned to December 9th, 2025.